What's up, everybody? Today we're talking InDesign. Columns, rows, frame fitting options, advanced guides, and much more. So bring your party hat and let's get into it.
Okay, so in InDesign today, we're going to be making a graduation party invitation. It's really easy to adapt this project to any kind of party invitation, but we're going to use a graduation theme for our party invitation today in InDesign, really focusing on our layout. So what we're going to end up with is something that looks like this. We're going to have 2 pages and it's supposed to be folded. It doesn't really matter which way it folds, inside or out. But we've got the one page with the main picture and some textual information about our invitation. And then on the other side, it's really graphical layout that just kind of shows off, our graduate here for our party invitation. Okay, so what you're going to need for this project is you're going to need the folder with all of the grad party invite images, and that is linked below in the YouTube video. And we also have in that folder the information that you're going to include. So this is the textual information, so you can just copy and paste that into your project. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to do is go to Create New. And we're going to choose the print preset of a letter half size paper. If that doesn't appear up here, you might have to click on View All Presets to show it, but we want to go with the letter half. I'm going to change our units to inches. That makes it a little bit easier for me to work with because I can tell you exactly how much 5.5 inches looks like. We want to keep the height and width, but change the orientation so that it is landscape. We want 2 pages, our front and our back, so we're going to change that one to 2. Uncheck the facing pages box. This is not a magazine spread or anything like that, so it's a front and back pages, so we don't need to check that box. We are going to have 2 columns, but no gutter. Later on, we're going to talk about specific page gutter, but for right now, we just want no gutter. The 2 columns indicate the fold. Basically, you have, the sheet of paper that's folded in half. So one column is one side and one column is the other side of the sheet of paper. For our margins, we're going to change those to 0.25. So I'm just clicking the down arrow on this first one on the top margin, and it automatically adjusts all the rest of our margins for us. For the bleed, we're going to change that up to 1.125. Don't worry about the slug. We don't need to do anything there. I'm just going to double check we got everything. So we've got our height and width, horizontal, landscape, orientation, 2 pages, not facing pages. We're going to have 2 columns, no column gutter, 0.25 margins all around, and a 0.125 bleed all around. Go ahead and click on Create, and we have started our document. Before we go any further, I want to make sure that our Workspace is reset. So we're going to go up to Window up at the top and go to Workspace. Make sure that you're on Essentials if you're not already. If that's not a checkbox right there, you need to make sure that that one is checked. And they do Reset Essentials so that all of our toolbars look exactly the same and you won't be able to get lost on what toolbars you need to have open. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to pages over here just to show you that we have page 1 and page 2. I just double clicked on each one of these and that takes me to the page that we're working on. If I want to be able to see both of them at the same time, I could go up to the top menu and go to View and then do Actual Size. And that makes it so that we can zoom out a little bit. You could also do Command or Control minus to zoom out, and then Command or Control plus to zoom in. Now I don't need to see all of my 2 pages. It just helps me to be able to visualize that there are 2 pages here. So I zoom out a little bit so I'm able to see both of them. It's important to realize that these rulers are attached to the page that you're working on. So if I wanted to use the ruler to create a guide on this page, I need to click on this page first before I start dragging the guidelines out. Same thing for this page. I need to click on this page first so that we know which page we're working on and which page the rulers are going to be coming from. If you don't have your rulers already visible, you definitely are going to need them for this project. So under the View menu up at the top, you might have, it might say show rulers here instead. So if I click hide rulers, my rulers disappear, and then you can go to View show rulers, and make sure that you have your rulers open for this project. All right, so we've started our layout. We have our basic page layout for both pages, but we need to add a lot more guides and a lot more information before we start getting into adding the content, because we want to make sure that everything lines up perfectly. So for this first page, the first page we're doing is the one with all the images. And so we need to set up these columns and rows in the guidelines so that we make sure that our frames and our images fit perfectly inside of our document. What we're going to do is over here in on this first page, like I said, make sure you click on that page somewhere just so that you have that one selected. We're going to go to the top menu where it says Layout, go down to Create Guides. And we're going to create some guides automatically in rows and columns. So instead of dragging out from the ruler like we sometimes do to create guidelines, this time we're making a whole bunch of guides at one time by making rows and columns at specific numbers. So we're going to have 3 rows. I'm going to check this preview box so you can see it as I add them in. So I was down at 0, 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 rows. And then we're going to have 6 columns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now you can see I had those 6 columns. I want the gutter, which is the space in between the rows, to be 0.125. So I'm just going to type that in, 0.125. And I want the same thing on the columns gutter, so 0.125. I do want to make sure that these guidelines are fit inside the margins. So not the whole outside of the page. I want the margins to be empty and the guidelines to basically start their numbering based off of what's inside of the margins. So I'm going to change that, flip it to margins. And so now this box that starts with the margin, this box right here, is the same size as this box. So we're ignoring the margin space for right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. All right, I have all of my layouts set up for this page 1. That one looks good to go. I'm going to move on to my layout set up for page 2, and then we can start adding in our content. So I'm going to double click on page 2. Again, you could just scroll down. Either way is fine. On this page, we need to edit the gutter for our overall page here. Basically, this space right here in between the 2 columns. So remember, this is one side, and this is the other side. 1 column, 2 column. The gutter in between, I want to make sure that I leave a little space because I don't want our text to accidentally go into that gutter or into that folding area. So I'm going to go to the Properties tab on the top left, and then I'm going to go down to Edit Page. Because I already had this page selected, this is the page that I'm editing, and I'm going to go to Margins and Columns. And I'm just going to change this gutter up to 0.125. I think that should be enough. Let me look at this. Maybe I need to make it a little bit bigger. Let's change this gutter to 0.5 actually. That might be too big. No, I think that looks good. Yeah, so then that will be 0.5 is twice what we have on the edge here, so that will be correct. So that will make an even space in that column, even with the fold down the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And while I'm already in this page edit area, you'll notice that it automatically switched me over to this page tool. And I want to stay in the page tool because with the page tool, you can add some special guidelines. So when I click and drag from this ruler all the way over to the center of my page, and it snaps hopefully here at 4.25. There we go. At 4.25 is exactly half of my page, and let go. You'll notice that this guideline is different than our guidelines that we see up here. This is a folding line. So when you create guidelines and you're inside of that page edit or inside of the page tool, it will create that folding line. Also, real quick, I'm going to Command Z or Control Z that. I want to show you one other thing. If I take this guideline and I drag it to the center of my page, inside of my page, you'll notice that it only makes the fold line inside of the page and not extending past into our other part of our canvas over here. I like to have it, I just did Control Z again or Command Z. I like to have it extend past. For some reason, it helps my brain to see the guides when they extend past the page. You can decide if that works for you or not, but that's just kind of my personal preference. So I have my folding line on this page. I actually want to make one on this page too. So I'm just going to click up here somewhere so that InDesign knows that I'm working on this page. And I'm going to, while I still am in that page tool, click and drag and make my folding line for this page as well. Perfect. All right, I'm going out of our page tool. I'm going back to selection tool and going down to my second page here. We're going to add some horizontal rulers going across our page to really help us align the text when we start putting our text in here and putting it in the right place. So to do the horizontal rulers, you're going to drag from our horizontal guidelines. We're going to drag from the horizontal ruler up at the top. And these are going to be at very specific numbers. So I had the wrong page selected. So see how it won't let me drag the ruler down there? I'm going to do Command Z or Control Z, make sure that I'm actually on this page. And now I should be able to drag my ruler down on this page, or my guide. I keep saying ruler instead. Drag my guideline down on this page. All right, so we're going to have 5 different guidelines. And right now I'm not caring too much about where they are. I'm going to type in the specific numbers in just a second. So I'm just clicking and dragging from the ruler to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guidelines. Perfect. I'm going to click on this first one to select it, and then over here in the properties panel on the y-axis, I'm going to change it so that it is at 0.75, just typing that in and pressing enter. Our second guideline, I'm going to type in the number 1.25 and press enter. Our third guideline, I'm going to type in the location of 3 and press enter. And then the fourth one is going to be at 3.5. which is really close to right now. And our last one is going to be at 4.85. Right now we have the layout set up, the guideline set up for both our first and our second page. It looks great. That's exactly where we want to be. I'm going to go ahead and save this file so I don't lose my guidelines and my layout. So I'm going to file save as, and we're going to name this last name, first initial, _ party invite. Now's the fun part. We get to start adding the content into this. So first thing we're going to do is this front page. Remember that this is the page that we're going to put all the images in so that they kind of line up around here. And then we have the 2025 in here. If we start by adding frames, so this is our frame tool. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th tool down on your toolbar. The rectangular frame tool is what we want. And inside that first box, the first row and column that we made, that's where I'm going to create my first frame. So I'm just going to click and drag and snap it to the area inside that first box. And you can see the frame has the X in it. A frame is simply a place that we're going to put an image into. It's always smart to, instead of just placing an image into InDesign, to create a frame first so that image is contained within that specific area that you meant it to be in your layout. So I have my frame here. Before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and change my frame fitting options for this frame. So the way I did that is I right-clicked on the frame and go to Fitting, Frame Fitting Options. And what this does is it's going to tell InDesign that when I put a picture into this frame, how do you want it to fill the frame? I want it to automatically fit. So if it's a huge image and we can only see a little portion of it, I don't want that. I want to be able to automatically fit the best it can inside of that frame. And then I want it to fill the frame proportionately. Don't worry about any of the other options here. We're just going to click OK. So now it's auto fitting. So whenever I place the image in there, it's going to fit it proportionally. You can always do this after the fact. So you could put the image in there and then change the fitting to fit the content proportionally. But if you do it beforehand, then we're saving a little bit of time because we're going to copy this frame to all of these areas, and that's already going to have that setting in there. So we're saving a lot of clicks by doing it beforehand. You'll notice over here in the properties panel, you have the frame fitting options over here as well. So you don't have to go to the right click frame fitting options. You can do it over here as well. So lots of different areas to do the same thing. We're going to duplicate this frame. I went over to our selection tool. This can get very complicated if you don't pay very close attention to the words that I'm saying, because I'm going to hold down certain buttons and then let go of certain buttons at different times. So first thing we're going to do is hold down the Option key. Now the Option key on a Mac is the same as the Alt key on a PC. So if I say Option key, I'm meaning Alt. I'm just going to tell you that right now because I'm going to say it over and over again. Option, Option, Option. That means Alt in the PC world. So I'm holding down the Option key. Notice that when I hold down the Option key, it changed my cursor to this like double arrow. That means that I'm going to duplicate the frame. I'm going to copy it. So I'm holding down the Option key and then I'm going to click and drag with my mouse. Do not let go with your mouse until I tell you to let go. I'm going to keep holding until I tell you I'm letting go. So I'm going to keep holding my mouse until I tell you let go. Okay, so I have my duplicate copy here. I'm going to let go of the Option key, but not my mouse. Let go of the Option key, but not my mouse. I still have my duplicate copy here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the bottom. So not the second one, but I'm going to go down to the bottom one. I'm going to press the up arrow on my keyboard. And you'll see that when I click on the up arrow, I have this like dotted line pops in, and it's automatically giving me another frame in the middle. So the up arrow, it adds additional rows. If I use the right arrow, it's going to add additional columns. So I'm going to keep pressing it until I have all 6 of these filled in. One more time. And it's really hard to see because we have those guidelines there, but I have now enough copies of this vertically and horizontally to fill in every single one of those guideline areas. Now I'm finally going to let go of my mouse, and it has duplicated the rows and columns to make them perfectly even and evenly distributed horizontally and vertically across my page. And if you remember correctly, we had already set that fitting for that first one, so it copied that across the board. That saved us a lot of time. Now we're going to, I just clicked over here somewhere to deselect, so I have none of these selected. And then I'm going to click on that first frame, and we're going to start adding our content into these frames. I'm going to go through this part pretty fast because I'm going to add the image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going across here and getting all of them in there from our folder. So if you remember the folder over here, the images are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go just across and then back down and across, back down and across. All right, so to add an image in here, you can do it one of 2 ways. You can go click on it and then do File, Place, or you can use the keyboard shortcut of Command D or Control D if you're on a PC. So the first time I'm going to do like this, and I'm going to get my image 1 and click Open. All right, now in my second one, I'm going to do the same thing. So you can do File, Place, or Command D and get the second one, click Open. And we're going to go through, like I said, I'm going to do this pretty fast and just place the rest of them in there. You can use the keyboard shortcut of Command D, which is what I'm going to do now. Okay, you should have all 18 pictures in there. And you'll see that in the frame, it has this little link icon. Basically, that's just saying that these are all images that are linked into your document. And it's not actually going to print the guidelines. It's not going to actually print the link. Let's actually take a moment and look at what the preview looks like. So over here at the bottom of your toolbar, you can right click on that and go to Preview. And you can see what it will look like. Or you can press the W key on your keyboard, and that toggles between your edit mode, basically your normal mode, where it has all the guides and margins and all your extra helpful layout indications, or you can press W and go to your preview of what it will look like when it's actually printed. InDesign did a great job of filling these in pretty well, but there's several of these images that I want to kind of reframe. I want a different area to be the focus. So for example, this one down here, it has like all of her friends. I want to zoom in so we're just seeing this group of 3 friends. So in this frame, if I click on it once, it's selecting the frame. If I click on it twice, do a double click, I will get the actual image that I can change. So with the image out here, I can use the bottom left corner, or actually any of the corners, and click and drag while holding shift to keep the proportion, and it changes where my image is. Then I can click and drag inside of the frame to move my image around, and I can keep doing this process over and over again until I get it exactly where I want it. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger. Just get these 3 friends right here. And that's where I kind of, oh, right there. That looks good. For this one, you can't even see her in this one. So again, if you click on the frame, you'll see that this is the frame is selected. If you click again, double click, you can see that orange line is where the actual picture is. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, holding down the shift key to make sure that's proportional. And again, moving it, holding down the shift key while I'm scaling it larger. Just want her in this picture, so I'm going to keep making it a little bit bigger, something like that. All right, and then I think I want to zoom in a little bit on this one, so it's a little bit farther away, so I'm going to double click to get to the image, just frame it up a little bit bigger. I might have wanted too big there. Oh, no, that's not too bad. We'll go with that. Same thing with this one. I'm going to make this one a little focused in on her, so it's not just a picture of the mirror. And then this one as well. So double clicking, resizing, and moving it to where I want it. All right. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go with it. Actually, I want to move this one over just a little bit because she's kind of going off the frame there. So I'm just double clicking to get to the image, and then I can move it over. There we go. Okay, so I think we're good, done with this page. I'm going to go ahead and do Command S or Control S on my keyboard to save it. And then we can move on to our second page. So on our second page, this image on this side is going to take up the whole area, and then we're going to have a black box on this side that has our text boxes in it. So let's start with the image. Remember, we're always going to use that rectangular frame tool to put our frame where we want the image to go. I'm going to go all the way out to the bleed, and so the bleed on the top left is that red line, and then I'm going to go down to the bleed in the center of our image to make the frame go on the outside of our paper. The reason we do that is the bleed is for the printing process. When it prints an image, if you think about your normal printer at home, there's always like this white margin around the outside that you can't get away from. The printer just does not print to the edge. Professional printers have printers that do print to the edge, but you have to have what's called a bleed in there. So it's going to basically bleed off the page to be able to print over to the edge. So we put our image over the edge of the paper knowing that that part is going to get cut off. So we have our frame going to the bleed on the outside. We're going to go ahead and place in our main image. So if you scroll down, that should be like in our same folder with all the other ones. And again, it has placed it. I have not done anything with the frame fitting over here, so I need to go ahead and change our fitting to do fit content proportionally. Now I want to make this bigger, and I'm going to use my selection tool to double click on it to get to my area where I can transform the image size, and holding down the shift, and I'm going to get her to be very much the focus. So I'm going to zoom in quite a bit here and try to get just so that she is in focus there. Now keep in mind that this part is not going to be printed. The one that goes to the red line that's the bleed. The black line is the actual edge of your page. So make sure that you don't put anything important outside of that edge. Like that's going to get cut off. So if I go to my preview over here, I'm going to press the W key just so you guys can see it. Part of her hair gets cut off. But if I take this down a little bit, then you can make sure that you're not cutting off anything important. And then the margin, I think it's just a good idea to keep like the really important stuff, especially text, inside of the margins so that it's not too close to the edge. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. We're gonna go with that. On this side, we're gonna go ahead and get a rectangle, and I'm going to flip-flop this so that it does not have a stroke and it does have a black fill. So this is my swap fill and stroke. And then I'm going to draw the black rectangle, once again, going out into that bleed area on this side. Easy. And I'm going to deselect off of that so that I'm not changing that color. So now with the text tool, I don't have that black box selected. With the text tool, I can make sure that my fill color is white. So you could double click here and change it to white. You could also, so I just went to my color picker and went all the way up to the corner and all the way up to the top, so it's white. And so now when I'm typing in here, it's not going to show up black on black. You won't be able to see it. So our first area for the type, for where we're going to add text is this box right here. Just a reminder, I had this open up on my other screen. This is the information I'm going to copy and paste into here. So this text box is going to go from this corner to here. And then we can copy the "We are proud to announce the graduation of." And I'm just going to paste it in here. Now, it did paste it in black. I think that because my text was black on the text document, the TXT document, that's why I did it. So you can't see it, but that's okay. It's there, I promise. So we're going to do Command A, which selects all the text. And then we can go over here to our fill and change it to paper so we can see it. Also, one of the weird things that happens when you copy over from this text document is that it adds additional returns in between the two lines. So we have to get rid of those. So I have an additional return right here that I'm just going to click my cursor and press delete to go back. And now we can see the other line. All right, so this is our first area of text. I'm going to worry about the font and characters and all that in just a minute. So we're going to keep going on and add all of our text, and then we can edit it. Our next text box is going to be from this corner to this corner. And that one's going to have her name, which is Shannon Williams. So we're going to copy that and paste it in here. Again, that it made all the text black, so I'm going to do Command A or Control A if you're on a PC to select everything in that text box and change my fill to paper, which is the color of our text. Again, I need to get rid of the extra line that it put in between. Next text line, our next text box is going to be down here. So we're skipping this space and going down to this box right here. So I'm going to click and drag, still on the text tool, to make my last text box. And this is going to have her high school information and the location of the party. Once again, when I pasted it, black on black, you can't see anything. So we're going to do Command A, Control A if you're on a PC, and turn the fill color to paper. Once again, I need to get rid of all of those extra spaces. There's lots in this one because there was some extra spaces put into the text document. And hopefully we'll get all of our text in there. Perfect. Okay, now that we have our text, the content in there, let's worry about what it looks like. So this first one and this one down here, these two text boxes are going to have the exact same font styles. So I'm going to select both of them at the same time so that they are edited at the same time. So I have the first one selected with the black arrow, the selection tool. Hold down the Shift key and select the second one. And that way we're editing both of these at the same time. We're going to use an Adobe font. So if you have Adobe fonts installed on your computer already, that's great. You may have to install it if not. The first font for this part is Novecento. So I'm going to start typing it in. Novecento Sans Book is the one we're going to use. So when I click on that, you see it changed both of these. We want to make sure that it is center aligned. And we want to make sure that it is 12-point font, which mine was already set at. So that's perfect. All right, we're done with those two. So I'm going to click somewhere outside of here to deselect to get outside of my selection of those two text boxes. And now I can click on Shannon Williams in the middle. This is going to be the Sync Done, I think I'm saying that right, font. And we're going to make that bold, which is already highlighted there. And we want it to be size 55. So I got it up to 48, and then I'm just going to click the up arrow a couple of times to get my text size to 55. And of course, we want to make sure it is center aligned under that paragraph panel. And now we have our name in there. Let's go ahead and go into our preview mode over here. So I'm going to click outside of my text so it's not selected. And then we can go to right click on here and go to preview. And this looks really good. So we have our front and we have our back and everything looks really good there. So now we can go ahead and do file save. So save our progress. And if you wanted to export this as a PDF, which is probably what you would do if you were going to send it to a printer, you could go to File, Export, and change it to Adobe PDF as your format type, and make sure that your name is correct, and click Save. You can change some of the settings here, especially if you're worried about a specific printing process, but for right now, we're just going to keep our defaults and click Export. And now you should have both the PDF version and the InDesign file saved on your computer, and you've done a great job designing this party invitation, really focusing on that layout aspect in InDesign. I hope you enjoyed it.
If you liked this video and found it helpful, please give us a thumbs up and drop a line in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for alerts of when new videos are posted. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy creating.